Oh yes, it's Broadcast Amsterdam. Hello and welcome to the Amsterdam Film Show for September 2019. It's me, Kathy Central, and Kiko.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. So, Kiko, our resident filmmaker in Amsterdam, and we've sent him to see a zillion films for you.
Oh, yeah, I'm watching like 3 new films every week.
Did you ever go home?
Yeah, but then I went back out.
Yes, that's it. You're addicted. But thank you very much, because I've seen 0 films this month, which is terrible if I'm presenting the Amsterdam Film Show.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
I got your back, don't worry.
Yes, good. So, as usual, if you don't already know, the Amsterdam Film Show shares the new cinema releases in the Netherlands, some tips, film reviews, and special film events in the city of Amsterdam in English, of which there are many.
Yeah, and the shit weather that we had this week as well.
Yes, movie-going weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this episode, we're going to bring you some TV small screen tips as well. Why not?
Yeah, well, sometimes you do want to go to the cinema, but then you look out of the window and it's pouring rain and you don't really want to bike.
Yeah.
So, like, cuddle up, play some Netflix, HBO, and grab a beer.
Absolutely. And so should we give people a taster of what we've got? We've got a few of the highlights from kind of last month's releases, but they're still screening, including, what do we think, Midsommar.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
We've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and also
The Biggest Little Farm.
That's it. You've seen all those, and they're still screening. And the other one, Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Yes. Yeah, that one I'm particularly excited about.
And then as well after that, of course, we promised you the new releases in September. One that's already out, which is called, It Chapter 2. Kiko has been to see that. We've got Monos, which might not be on your radar, but you've seen to that too.
Yes.
And then Ad Astra, which is a space epic. Downton Abbey we might talk about quickly, and some film events. That's what we've got coming up on the show, if you like the sound of that. And you've been to see some things. We're going to call this the last chance to see films that came out in August but are still on at the cinema. You've got several tips for us here, Kiko.
Yeah. Some of these movies are probably below the radar for some people. But I strongly recommend, if you can still catch The Biggest Little Farm. It's a fantastic documentary. It's this couple that just decided to quit their city lives and open a farm, self-sustainable farm, where all the animals and the plants coexist. And it's I don't remember the precise term that they use, but it's just fantastic. It makes you want to go start a farm. But then, as the movie goes on, you say, like, yeah, maybe that's not a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see how much work it takes. But it's a beautiful movie. It kind of, like, helps you understand some things about the planet. And it's, I don't know, it's just a good watch.
Yeah, and it just so happens that those farmers are documentary makers. So they've got, this guy is a very good filmmaker. Those
he's
shots
a cinematographer for National Geographic.
Yes. And just happens to have all these, beautiful, bucolic scenes behind it, with all the animals and everything. Watch the trailer. It's really, really fantastic. Yeah,
it's having his own studio.
Yes. It's on still in some cinemas.
Yeah. Go catch it if you still can.
Yay. And so that's a documentary. You've seen some other films as well.
Tigers Are Not Afraid.
And that's, it's not like, it's a foreign language film, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Spanish. It's from Mexico.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm particularly excited about it. I'm Mexican. And it came out last week or 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
I went to see at Rialto in Oost. Mondays I have expat night. So all these foreign language films in Amsterdam, they play them with English subtitles on Mondays.
Yeah.
So you can go catch it out. And it's a dark fairy tale by this director, Isa Lopez. And she's like the new protege of Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, yes.
So she created this fantastic, immersive, dark fairy tale about these homeless kids, orphan kids, in this kind of derelict city somewhere in Mexico. It never specifies where. And they are dealing with this gang of drug narcos, basically.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're like capturing their mothers and killing them and all this violence around them, they translate or process, and the things that they don't understand fully, they process with fantasy. Okay. So that's where they create like, oh yeah, they're gonna get you and they're gonna eat you because they're the bad guys, they're ogres.
Yes.
So I think it's a coping mechanism from the kids that they see with fantasy eyes.
Yeah.
So all the fantasy that happens on screen could very well be just in the kid's head to cope with the violence around them. Uh-huh. So that's what makes this movie so hard and so tough to watch, but it's beautiful at the same time.
Is it ambiguous there? Are we meant to believe that those things are really just the kids' imaginations?
Well, I think that's the way I took it.
Yes.
It's never the intention of the movie to tell you that's the way it is.
Yeah.
The movie takes it as it's something normal.
Yeah.
In the perspective of Estrella, which is our main girl.
Right.
And I don't think that's really the point that Isa Lopez tried to say. It's just what I took on it is how kids tend to romanticize the world around them in order to process and understand what's happening.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like kind of trippy, but that's what this movie is.
Yeah, and magic realism. It's when I compare it to something like what was the film with the big boat sinking and the big tiger in the boat?
Titanic. Oh,
no,
Titanic with tigers.
The other one.
No. It was Life of Pi.
Yeah, Life of Pi. When you compare it to that, this is much more restrained, and the kind of fantasy magical element is so subtle. Like if you watch the trailer, it really only comes in towards the end, I think, and stuff. So for expectations, it's not at all like the Life of Pi style of magic realism.
Yeah, no, because if you think about it, spoiler alert, in Life of Pi, I think that the tiger was himself. You know, it was a metaphor of struggling with himself.
Yeah.
I don't think that the tiger was really there.
Yes.
But then, was it? I don't know. Like, I think it depends if you want to go way too interpretative about your review.
Oh, yes. But there is a tiger in this, because I saw it in the trailer.
Well, yeah, there's one tiger. Yeah. But, it kind of comes out in a really important moment in the movie, and it kind of, like, ties it together why the title also, Tigers Are Not Afraid.
But also very gritty.
Yeah.
Really gritty.
Yeah. It's hard to watch.
And this is an emerging filmmaker, so we should look out for her. More things to come. But obviously it's in Spanish. So in the Netherlands, I'm just trying to think, there are some film screenings with it with English subtitles if you can't get the Spanish or the Dutch subtitles. So let's see. It came out towards the end of August, so it'll still be quite some places. Rialto, where you saw it, Film Hallen, Criterion, Lab 111, and FC Hyena. That's quite a lot.
Yeah. And all Cineville compatible.
Oh, yeah, Cineville. Big up for the Cineville card.
Oh, mine is almost melting of how much I use it.
Don't wear it out. So that is Tigers Are Not Afraid, excuse me. And then there's another one from last month, which is still out, Midsommar.
Midsommar. I think that one is going to be a little bit tough to find it. Oh, maybe not, because it was a hit.
It's popular, so they might make more money if they keep it out.
Director Ari Aster. Yeah, I hear that they're releasing an extended version, an extended director's cut, only for Apple TV or whatever their streaming platform is.
Yeah.
Which I think it's kind of silly, but it's a great movie. It's maybe not as horrifying as his previous Hereditary, but I think it's a very well executed horror film, specifically because everything is happening during daylight, like noon daylight, and all the colors are beautiful and all the people are beautiful. And but it has that eerie, that uneasy feeling that creeps you from behind and very, very slow. I remember being very uncomfortable sometimes while watching this.
Yes. But it's had mixed reviews, because I read reviews saying it was absolutely hilarious and they were laughing loads throughout it.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand how to watch horror these days. I have a big issue on how horror films are taken. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. These days. Consumed. Yeah. Like, you have two sides of horror. You have Annabelle and that kind of stuff. Yeah. That it's shit. And on the other hand, you have things like The Witch, Hereditary, Midsommar, Oculus, It Follows, The Babadook. All these movies that a lot of people often don't like, But they have to understand that it's a different kind of horror. It's a horror based on empathy with the characters. And if you create this link with the character when something horrible happens to him, then that's when the horror, the creep, starts to come. So, but if you're waiting for just a jump scare, this is gonna be risible.
Yes, I don't go for horror at all. The cinema.
Broadcast Amsterdam.
You're back with the Amsterdam Film Show for September 2019. This is Kathy Central and we've got Kiko Morah. We've done some Last Chance to See. We've got one more film, which actually I think will be out for quite a while because they're doing so well. What's it called?
Oh, this really small indie film, right?
Oh, just a small one. Just that small. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. ... Once Upon a Time ... in Hollywood. They should say that, the proper name of it. So obviously, Quentin Tarantino film came out towards the end of August. What did you think of it, Kiko Morah?
Well, I'm a Tarantino fan. I don't think it's his best work. I don't think it's a bad movie either. It's the story of Rick Dalton, an almost has-been actor and his inseparable stuntman / personal assistant, and they're both in Hollywood during the 60s. So, as with every other Tarantino movie, it's filled with great performances, brilliant dialogue, and the I don't care about history attitude that I love. And with this, I mean that Quentin Tarantino takes this liberty to change parts of history that he doesn't like. You know, spoiler alert.
Yes.
With
the Bruce Lee.
Yeah. He plays, I guess, with alternate timelines and stuff. Well, so I thought it was really fun.
But not his best work, because that's interesting, because a lot of the other reviews, brilliant, best film, how's he going to top it? Maybe he should make it his last one, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know. I thought it was good. Like, I do think that it has some negative aspects to it as well. Like, I mean, the storyline of Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie, it doesn't really go that much into details. And it's because of the trailer, really. I was expecting more than just a cameo from Charles Manson, a bigger development of Sharon Tate. But that's not really what the movie's about. Then, you have to understand that this movie is about Rick Dalton, Leonardo DiCaprio, which happens to be Sharon Tate's neighbor.
Yes.
The movie's really about Hollywood, about making movies. It kind of removes this glamour veil from this business. Like, you meet characters that have worked decades in the film industry, but can barely afford their rent. So it shows a very real side of the film industry. It's just an industry over there. It's just a job. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Not the way we see it, but from the other side, warts and all.
Yeah, exactly. It's not all stars and glamour.
Yeah.
Even this guy, Leo DiCaprio, he's dealing with the fact that his time as a poster boy is over. He's passing from being the hero to the villain to the guest star to being forgotten, and this messes with his mind. And I think that makes his character completely dimensionable and relatable.
Were there lots of laugh out loud moments?
Yeah. The humor is really, really nice. There are some really good jokes. The script, as always, the dialogues are on point.
Yes.
The direction is on point. The ending is so Tarantino. I don't know. I thought he was super fan.
How violent is it? Because normally his films are quite violent.
It's definitely not as violent as his last three movies.
Okay, that's good.
From, say, Inglourious Bastards, Django, and The Hateful Eight, this one is the least violent. Although it does end in a huge violence bang.
Like in Inglourious Bastards, when they had the cinema go up and machine gun things.
And he kind of does a self-tribute there.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because there's these fragments of the movies of Leo DiCaprio's character.
Oh, yes.
And there's this scene where he's torching a bunch of Nazis.
Yes.
And
that's so similar to Inglourious Bastards, because they had this shooter in that, and he was always on film at the start.
Exactly. It's a self-reference.
Yeah. Oh. We're going to get onto this then. So should we go on to this, why I don't rate Quentin Tarantino? It's the lack of originality and going back to things that have already been done. I kind of feel like, why this story now? It's just, the historical aspect although he changes it up a bit. It's basically an excuse for homage after homage after homage, and like using all the music, using all the tropes, using all the nice clothes, using all the best music from that thing. But what new things does he add? It's just like layers and layers of other people's stuff or other cultural stuff. And that's why I think he's a bit lazy that way. He just relies on the good stuff that's gone before him.
I know you're not a big fan of the guy.
I don't like the violence, but I'm glad to hear this one's not as violent. I did quite like Inglourious Basterds, mostly for the comedy and Michael Fassbender. I am annoyed, like, it's not just violence, sexual violence, gruesome, and it stays in my head. You know, the things that I have seen in Hateful Eight and Django Unchained, it's like, I don't want that in my head, you know, that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, they're not easy to watch. They're not for everybody, though. Yeah. Definitely.
I suppose I would think to myself, like, I don't go to the cinema that often because I have a young child. So I always think if I'm going to give my money to a film, I want it to go to something that's, you know, really going to appreciate it. And obviously he's very successful. I do think he's very indulgent because he has these big budgets.
Oh, it's super self-indulgent.
Yeah, they're long. This one's a long film.
Yeah, but do you know what? His past 3 movies were super long as well.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Here's what I think about Tarantino. I believe he's a genius, and this is why. Like, very few directors in the world, in history, really, have become a genre themselves.
Yes.
Like, Tarantino doesn't direct comedies. He doesn't direct horror. He doesn't direct action.
He directs Quentin Tarantino
movies.
That's it. You're right.
So you really know what you're going for. And he's been consistent with that tone, with who he is for the entirety of his career. Yeah. Every single movie, it's him, and he has nothing to apologize for. He's so unapologetic as a filmmaker that he gets away with a lot of things that people shouldn't. Like, remember Green Book? This movie with Mahershala Ali that in the Oscars that then a lot of people started attacking because it was a white director, and it was the same story about a white man who's a racist and a really smart black man that shows him that that racism is shit.
Yes.
And he got a lot of backlash from it.
Yeah.
Because he was hypocritic. Yeah. But then you have a movie like Django Unchained.
Oh yes.
Where the N-word is so many times said in this movie, and still people love it, and still it does have a message, and it's a message that sticks a lot better in a more raw way, and in the end the message is the same, but this is like a complex meal versus a cheeseburger that is the other movie.
Oh, you are very pro. But you're right. He has invented a whole genre of movies, the Quentin Tarantino genre.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all. And next up, this is a film that came out in September, the 5th of September. Where are we now? It. Chapter 2.
Yeah. Well, I got the chance to watch it on Tuesday on the press screening. And it was, I don't know, this is the second part of the It story. It's not a sequel. It's just part 2 of one big story. So the losers are grown up now. They are summoned 27 years later to go back to Derry and stop Pennywise once and for all. And this movie brings closure to the story. But before I go into detail, I do have to say that this is my favorite book.
Oh.
I love the first film a lot, and I watched it wearing my fanboy glasses.
Mm-hmm. Stephen
King. I cannot take them off.
Stephen King, does it come out in 2 volumes or is it all one book?
No. It's one volume. It's one massive book. Uh-huh. Like if it drops on your head, you die. It's that heavy. So I loved it. I really did, because I love the book. I loved the first movie, and but I did have some time to think about the film, and it does have many flaws. The setup of the grown-up losers, which are perfectly casted, by the way, is told in a very rushed way. Like, there is almost no time left for the viewer to know who these people have become after 27 years. They just went for, them as kids. This is them as grown-ups, like one scene each, and that's it. Then they go to Derry.
It's a shame because there's really strong actors there. Jane McAvoy, Jessica Chastain. You've got Bill Hader, who's normally known for comedy. How did he do?
They're all fantastic.
Yeah.
They go full on. Like they really believed in the project, you can tell, and they really, really made an effort. I mean, they barely touch the current life of these characters, but when they go back to Derry, the movie starts to drag a little bit. It becomes slow at a few moments, and so I found kind of an imbalance in the narratives there. I feel like they should have given the setup a little bit more time, because then some things were dragging. The grown-up actors, like I told you, James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, and the rest are amazing, but Bill Hader is the one who owns the movie.
Wow.
He owns this movie. His character has by far the most interesting arc.
Yeah.
And with a bit of a nice twist to his character. I recommend it, absolutely, but you have to get on board with the fact that it's a movie about an ancient creature that fell from the sky a million years ago that takes the form of a psycho clown to eat children and really screws with your mind.
Yes.
So it's a creepy movie. It's the kids are good still,
Yes.
but I was a little bit distracted because some of the kids have aged a lot compared to the last movie, particularly Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things.
Yes.
So they did a digital de-aging of the kids.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit distracting, and you can tell in the voice as well. They did diminish the pitch, so they sounded a little bit. So that was a little bit distracting, but still, like, it's not a better movie than the first part, or it's not scarier either, but it's definitely worth a watch.
Do you see much of the Pennywise clown in it?
Oh, a lot. Lot. And to be honest, Bill Skarsgård owns that part.
Yeah.
He is, just like in the first movie, the best part of the movie. I love the way he plays with it. He's creepy AF.
Wow, that's good. We've got another kind of iconic kind of baddie coming up next month with the Joker. But it's great that those roles that maybe have been played and people get used to them, you can reinvent them and do a new way.
I think they're a little bit like Doctor Who, right?
Oh,
like
yes.
the Doctor.
Yes.
There are 11, 12 actors that have played the Doctor, but each of them have made this part its own.
Yes.
They can all bring something new, and Bill Skarsgård is doing excellent. Something I do want to say, like, if you're going to go watch it, keep an eye to spot Stephen King in the movie, which is not very hard to miss. He has an entire scene.
Right.
But I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And there's also a really subtle cameo from Andy Muschietti, the director of both films.
Oh, yes, Andy Muschietti. Has he done much other stuff?
Well, yeah, of course. He did, the first one. He did Mama as well, which is a horror movie from a few years ago.
Right.
It was produced by Del Toro, actually.
Okay.
But he did some of the things. I don't remember very well right now, but
I had never heard of him, but if he's horror, that's probably why. But it's 2 hours and 49 minutes, Kiko.
It's long. This movie is long.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they did remove a few things from the book.
Yeah.
And when you adapt a book to a movie, a book this long and a book this far-fetched, you do have to learn what to take out and what to bring in. Yeah. There are some things that I would have done differently, but to be honest, I think that the spirit of the book is there.
But you liked it. You loved
I'm going to watch it again.
It's 3 hours. Where's your life going to go, Kiko?
To the movies.
To the movies. But no, it's your job anyway as a filmmaker, so you've got a good excuse.
Yes.
We now have a completely new director and a new film called Monos.
Oh, Monos, which translates to monkeys.
Does it?
Yeah, which is really important to understand because it's kind of like the soul of this movie.
I thought it would be like silence or something, you know?
Oh, well, yeah, the poster looks very silent.
Yeah. Monkeys. Tell us, what's the film about? What do you think of it?
Well, it's directed by Alejandro Landes. It's this Brazilian guy, and it's set in the mountains of Colombia. It tells the story of a group of soldiers who belong to some kind of guerrilla. These are just kids. I think the oldest is like 18, 20 maybe. I'm getting older, so I just look at them young.
Yeah.
But they're only trained to like trust each other and do their jobs in solitude. Their kind of quote-unquote base. It's what seems to be like an abandoned mining structure up in the mountains. And this is where they keep an American doctor as hostage. So they have their orders to just like keep the doctor alive while their commander comes and goes every few days to give them food. And they're mostly isolated. Now, what the film is really about, it's loyalty between these kids, this patrol, this you forget that they're kids and you take them seriously as soldiers. Not to get too much into it, but after a big battle, they're forced to move to the jungle, the monos, because that's the name of their patrol, monos, monkeys. Yeah. And that's when their mindset starts to change. They become one with nature, and they kind of like start rebelling from the rebellion, and then kind of becoming this like jungle men, covering their bodies in mud, and start to being, like I said, one with the jungle. This turns the movie into a very slow, contemplative narrative where you see the minds of these kids slowly changing and turning them into animals, into monos, if you may. It's a beautifully shot movie. It's the cinematography is brilliant. It has an incredible cast of mostly unknown actors, although I did recognize one of the kids from a Disney Channel show from the early 2000s.
Oh, no.
I think, and this is kind of embarrassing to admit, but I think I can place him in Zack and Cody Cruise Life or Hotel Life. And it was this really tiny kind of Latino guy that it was kind of like a bad guy. I don't remember his name, but he's in this movie and he's fantastic. This, Guillermo del Toro strongly recommends this. And I agree with him. It's a new powerful voice in cinema, this guy Alejandro Landes. And it's definitely a filmmaker to keep an eye on. The movie's in Spanish, so you will find it again in Rialto, Criterion, The Eye. All of these places, just check their websites. They have English subtitled shows for this.
There's quite a few that have been scheduled. So it's maybe a bit of a clue to the prestige or the kind of response that people are giving it. They see that it's that they want more people to see it. So the Eye are putting it on with English subtitles, and then also Criterion on several nights. Let's see, at the Eye Film Museum on the 10th of September, which is a Tuesday, at 9:15, so that's coming up with English subtitles. Criterion, they say on September the 11th in the evening, that's a Wednesday, and then September the 17th.
And if you keep keep a close eye to their website, Criterion is always on Sundays. Mm-hmm. Rialto is always on Mondays.
Oh, yes.
So I would suggest to the people here, there's a lot of expats in Amsterdam, and we want to see all these movies. So sometimes just go on a Monday to Rialto, even if you don't know what you're gonna watch.
They've got good taste there. You just have to trust them.
Yeah, I love Rialto.
Yeah. Also, from the trailer, it looks like even if you can't get to one with English subtitles, I kind of think it's one where the language no problem.
There's not a lot of
the dialogue,
There's not a lot of dialogue, that's true, but some of the dialogue is extremely important.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of exposition there on why they are there, or why they have to move, or who are they really.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah. Definitely catch it with some subtitles, but it's the kind of movie that it's very art housey, yes. But it's a movie, it's cinema. Guys, enjoy it.
Yeah. Right, you're back with the Amsterdam Film Show for September 2019. We're talking about new releases in the Amsterdam cinemas in September. Downton Abbey. Not your kind of film, I don't think.
Not my cup of tea.
Let's see. You might remember the music. Here we go. If you watch the film on the television. It's a TV series, and it stopped, I don't know, about 2 years ago, and that was that. We thought it was done and dusted, but of course, with all popular things, they think let's make a bit more money and do a film. So
what they're doing with Breaking Bad as well.
Exactly. Although I have a feeling the Breaking Bad film might be slightly better than this Downton Abbey. More long-awaited.
This is what we call in Mexico a telenovela.
Yes.
My wife loves it, by the way. No shaming, but it's like her guilty watch when she's alone.
Yeah, a bit more for the girls. So the writer is back, Julian Fellows, who wrote the TV series, directed Michael Engler. I think, I can't remember if he may be Dutch or not, maybe not. But the stars are back, and it's all about Maggie Smith, really. She's the main thing.
She's coming back.
Yes, of course. Unless she dies at the end or something, because she's quite old. The dowager.
I mean, they finished shooting it, so...
Yeah.
She didn't die.
Yes. But according to IMDb, they've got the most boring description for this.
What does it say?
It says, the continuing story of the Crawley family, wealthy owners of a large estate in the English countryside in the early 20th century.
And you said it with the perfect accent to say that.
Yes. But Rotten Tomatoes have got a better description. They're saying, like, basically, the king and queen come to stay. And calling them the Crawley family is just, like, ridiculous because they are, Lord and Lady whatever.
Lord Crawley.
Yeah, they're not the Crawley family. They're a distinguished Lady Mary.
Are they from the royal family?
They're related to the royals, yeah, I think.
Okay.
So that's why the king and queen are coming to stay. And that's what they've made the film all about.
So
king
they're
and
that
queen.
big.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's what the movie's about.
Yeah, and the things from the trailer, you see, the biggest drama is the fact that the royal servants are also coming to prepare the way for the king and queen. And they kind of take over because it's not just about the rich family, it's also about their servants, the series. There's a lot of drama going on behind the scenes and how socially that aspect of, being in service and the landed class and how those things changed over time. And this is a key period. Like, this thing doesn't exist, that way of living doesn't exist really anymore with the butlers and the maids. And
yeah, it's super weird. I did see like a couple of minutes from it here and there.
Yeah, and how does it all get phased out? But I mean, it still sounds kind of boring because, to be honest, Downton Abbey has had some really good, saucy, fun, dramatic bits. In the first series, I think maybe the second episode, Lady Mary she was having sex with an Indian prince, Mr. Pamuk, Turkish prince maybe, and Mr. Pamuk had snuck into her bedroom. This is a single woman, Lady Mary,
God.
and died during sex. And then they had to sneak, so then the maid had to sneak the body out of the bedroom back to his room, the dead body, in order to hide the scandal that,
Oh my God, how old was the
dead man in his
prince?
bed. How the prince, quite young, because, she's,
Oh, really?
mid-20s, I would say.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
and why did he die? Was he
The
morbidly
excitement of
obese
sex, I think.
or she was really good at it?
I know, that was the mystery. And the great thing is, you don't expect that from a period drama, really.
No, not at all.
So, that was the very first season of Downton Abbey, and there were, some fun bits like that. And, you just thought that was my favourite episode because it was just crazy. But it's gone a bit boring. The second season was a little bit boring. But there's some, other
There's
things.
one season when there's this, like, war hero coming back in a wheelchair and he has, like, amnesia or something.
Yes, that was quite
or
good.
he's not who he says he is.
Oh, there was another, a long lost member of the family, and he might have kind of like come in and threatened their inheritance, and that was a big cat among the pigeons. Huge.
Yeah, I remember. I remember trying to. I was arriving home, and my wife was watching that bit, and I was like, "Hi, shh, I'm watching." Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And illegitimate children and everything. So this one, the trailer, they have kind of like brought it down, very restrained. The drama is all about the royal family, which is not quite the same. I think we need more, but I think the trailer's not giving away. I'm hoping that they've got something in the bag that will be bigger and better.
I mean, because drama about the queen, I mean, you have the crown for that, and it's coming back for another season.
Yes. Yeah, and these king and queen are older at this stage,
Is it the same? It's not the same.
No, it's much before Queen. It's a different king and queen from Queen Elizabeth. From the 19th of September, so still a little bit to wait, we have Ad Astra.
Really? Is it coming out until the 19th?
Yeah. But you've already seen it, Kiko.
Yeah, I went to see it 2 days ago to the press screening at Pathé City, I think. Well, that was a trippy movie. It is, I think, the first thing I can say about it, the most realistic space travel movie that I've seen. Like something that I can see happening in the future.
Yes?
At least the way they portray it. There's one part where Brad Pitt arrives to the moon because you go commercially to the moon.
Oh, in this film, in the future.
Yeah. So you can go as a tourist to the moon, and there's a shot where in the background there's a subway and
Subway sandwich
yeah,
store.
and like a DHL office, and it looks so realistic. And essentially, the movie I would describe it as Apocalypse Now in space.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of the same principle. Our main character is on a big journey to find this one person. In this case, it's his father, played by Tommy Lee Jones. So it's about the journey rather than the payoff. And we're following Brad Pitt as he tries to get a hold of his father, who's thought lost for 16 years, and all of a sudden it turns out that he may be alive and something's happening, and Brad Pitt has to go talk to him. and he's all the way in Jupiter or something like that, or Saturn, I think.
Ooh.
I don't know, super far away.
Yes.
And it's super trippy. It's beautiful, beautiful image.
To be expected, because my favourite cinematographer, I've been reading about this and waiting it for a while because I was looking to see what his next project was years ago.
Yeah.
And it's Hoyte van Hoytema, who is a Dutch man. Who didn't get into Dutch film school, by the way, and now he's done amazing stuff. He was the cinematographer of Interstellar and Dunkirk, and everyone knows what good photography.
You can tell.
Yes.
You can tell right away. I think that one of the things that stand out the most from this film is the cinematography.
Yes.
The color, the composition of every single shot. It's excellent.
Yeah, because it's difficult space, isn't it? You don't think of it as that colourful, black and white, blah, blah, blah.
No, it's just darkness.
Yes.
And that's the way it should be. But beyond that, when they're at the moon, the aesthetic is very particular.
Yeah.
When they're in Mars, the aesthetic is really particular. When they are approaching Jupiter or whatever the planet is, I don't remember right now, the aesthetic changes completely. I mean, at the same time, it is consistent with what it does.
Yes.
But wow, I recommend this. Like it's a space epic. It is a slow movie. It is a character-driven movie. The best reference I can give you is Apocalypse Now, which is a magnificent movie, but it also tends to drag a little bit because you're looking at a few soldiers on the river doing nothing.
Okay.
For like 30 seconds in an amazing shot.
So come prepared.
Similar. Yeah. Drink a cup of coffee beforehand, but it's amazing.
Did you have a little nap in the middle?
I did fall asleep like for 10 minutes.
I wonder, maybe the music is hypnotic as well. I imagine it's...
Yeah, I think the space is very 2001 Space Odyssey.
That's it.
Like the space setting. There's a lot of Interstellar in it as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There was a point where it was going very slow but very beautiful. So it kind of like eased me into a really nice 10-minute nap.
Yeah.
Which I regret because I don't like to sleep in movies, but I don't know. It just happened.
You're in that happy place.
Yeah. It was very, very soothing.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. I may well get out to see Ad Astra, directed by James Gray, he did The Immigrant, which is a completely different film in New York, historical kind of film. So intrigued to see how he will go with that one. But Brad Pitt, he's easy on the eye. Obviously, he's in the Quentin Tarantino film as well.
Oh, yeah. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I mentioned, like, he's my dad's age.
Yeah.
And and the moment I said that, like, he takes off his shirt, like, in this scene on a rooftop where he's, like, fixing an antenna or something.
Yeah.
And he looks... I mean, come on, man. Like, really...
Still got it. He's still got it.
Oh, he's super got it. He's never going to let it go.
There you are, listeners. But I suppose in Ad Astra, he'll be wearing quite some more clothes. He'll be in his spacesuit. So if you want the sexy Brad Pitt, go to see Once Upon a Time in ... Hollywood. And if you're more into cerebral Brad Pitt, go to see Ad Astra.
Yeah, well, he still looks sexy in a uniform.
Woohoo! Good one. We've done the tips. There aren't that many new films out in September. There was still plenty to talk about. We've gone on to now special film events and festivals in Amsterdam. There's always loads. And this month, it's all about someone called Andrei Tarkovsky.
Oh, yeah. He's a must in film school. Like, he's, well, at least in my school, they taught us about him. Entire classes dedicated to this guy.
Yeah, because I think this name is not on my radar. And I suppose the general public know. But why do you think we should know about him?
Well, he was a very important figure in cinema in the 70s, I think. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, he's considered one of the greats, one of the masters, alongside Akira Kurosawa, Jean-Luc Godard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I remember his name... He's the kind of name that you drop when you're in film school and you want to show off that you know about film. You drop that name, and it's a big name. I'm so happy that they're bringing all of his movies because I've never seen them on a big screen.
Oh, yeah,
I've
and they're remastered.
Yeah. So it's the first time I'm going to see it on a big screen, which I'm really excited, particularly about Solaris.
Yes, that's good. Sci-fi, an old sci-fi, but looking lush. So there's the whole remastered series of his films, and they're showing at Lab 111. I think there are other cinemas showing it. From the 19th of September, basically celebrated this guy. He died at 54, but he made a lot of good films.
Yeah. He was, I don't know, his way of doing movies was a lot more, how can I say this, pragmatic.
Okay.
You know, but at the same time, there is so much life in his movies.
Yeah.
There's this really interesting documentary about, what's the name? The Sacrifice.
Yes.
The scene where the house burns. Yeah. I think it's from The Sacrifice. I remember in film school they showed us this documentary where they're gonna shoot the fire scene, and there's like 9 cameras or more shooting at the same time. This like life-size house setting on fire, and they only have one house. So boom, they burn the house, and in the end, none of the cameras worked.
Uh-oh.
It's like the worst case scenario I've heard after Terry Gilliam's thing with Don Quixote.
Oh, yes.
And it was so sad, but they show this to you in film school as a way of saying, no matter who you are, like the worst can happen to you, but you have to like thrive on. And he did. Like it's a heartbreaking thing to watch, but at the same time, it's so interesting just as a person to see how he deals with this defeat.
So there's all those 6 brand new digital registrations at Lab 111: Stalker, The Mirror, Solaris, the sci-fi, The Sacrifice, Andrei Rublev, and Ivan's Childhood. Now,
are they going to be in the Eye?
I think some of them, yeah, pretty much, but also Lab 111 and the Eye. You're right, and the Eye. At the Lab 111, they are all with English subtitles.
Oh, fantastic!
Sure. I think at the Eye said they tend to mix it up with Dutch and English, not always.
Yeah, I mean, it is owned by the government, but it's one of my favorite places to go see movies.
Yeah, but as well as that, at the Eye Film Museum, we have an exhibition on the director's work.
Yeah. It's the perfect place for these exhibitions. Like I'm super fan of all these exhibitions on directors that the Eye does.
Yeah, I haven't been to one for a while there, but they've always been good, and you get to see, basically inside the mind of the maker. So they've got letters, notes, scripts, photos, and Polaroids that have never been displayed before, all kind of basically making up the work of this filmmaker. They're calling him a mystic, and his search for existential truth.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to describe it. Yeah.
Okay. Something deep there. That's on from the 14th of September till the 6th of December.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. Even if you don't know the name, go see this. It's the type of film or the type of filmmaker that you should definitely consider watching at least one movie.
Yeah. Like
have the patience and the will to watch one of these movies. It's for culture, man. It's a fantastic. Go. Like look up Andrei Tarkovsky right now. Google it and just buy a ticket.
Yeah, it'll give you something to talk about dinner parties and show off a bit. I went to see an Andrei Tarkovsky movie.
Exactly. I'm cultured. Ha ha ha.
And another nice thing going on soon from the 5th. No, not the 5th. On Monday, the 11th of November, actually not soon, but it's worth getting your tickets now. So I'm going to give you a heads up is The World of Hans Zimmer, well-known soundtrack composer.
Oh, yeah.
And he's at the Zygotome. I don't know if it's Hans Zimmer himself, but basically his music's going to be celebrated.
I think he is. He tours a lot.
Yeah. So many
He likes
good
the
tunes.
stage, and he owns the stage. I've never seen it live.
Oh, good. I mean, he obviously did the soundtrack to Interstellar. Many, many lovely tracks with organs in Interstellar. I loved that soundtrack.
The Wonder Woman song with the guitar. That's him.
Is it really?
Yeah. The only good thing about that movie, really, about DC.
He's so varied. Also, Sorry to Bother You, which is a great film with Lakeith Stanfield.
Amazing film.
Yeah, it never came out in general release in the Netherlands. But
No, it came out last year. I remember watching this last year.
Yeah, but not properly in the main cinemas across the country. So there were special screenings. So now Lab 111 have brought it back, and they're calling it under the previously unreleased. So if you wanted to see it and you couldn't catch it at the Dutch cinemas, Sorry to Bother You is out there. It's great. I'm going to give you a heads up now for something on the small screen. Good morning, Vietnam is on Netflix. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to watch a movie, but it's raining like every day here in Amsterdam, you don't want to bike, check out Netflix. Go for a goodie oldie. It has Robin Williams in it. It's about the Vietnam War. It's a fun watch.
Yeah, and not all of us have Netflix, but that's a good reason to have it. I wonder why Netflix decided to bring it back into their catalogue. It's a bit random because it's such an old film. 1987.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's a year before I was born.
Wow. I mean, maybe it's like the anniversary of his death or something, which is so sad he's not with us.
Yeah.
So it's the last 30 seconds of the show. We'll have some more small screen tips for you next month. And guess what's out next month?
Oh, The Joker.
Yeah, going to have to go and see that.
Oh, yeah.
Dark one. I think it's right down your street, isn't it, Kiko?
Super.